So normally I would do my post-game video tonight, especially after a Bulls win, which has been rare as of late, but that wasn't really a game that you necessarily want to go in depth on when the Wizards are just playing unwatchable basketball, and I wouldn't get too excited about the Bulls blowing that team out when the Wizards are clearly locked in to try and finish with the worst record in the league. But hey, we saw a good game from Patrick Williams, the best game of his entire season. Of course, he does that when the season is long over and there's zero pressure playing against the worst team in the league. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, shot 4 for 6 from 3. What? And hey, Rob Dillingham put up a career high tonight. How about that? Good, easy game for him to gain a bit of confidence, putting up 26 points, 7 rebounds, 9 for 15 shooting, hit 5 threes. Good stuff. Good stuff. It's the Wizards, though, so take it with a grain of salt. But anyway, more important topic. We got to hear from Bulls owner, son of Bulls owner, I should say, and Michael Reinsdorf in his media availability earlier today, coming off the heels of the AK and Mark Eversley firing yesterday. And boy, a lot to unpack in that 25-minute or so press conference. And what I'll say is this before I get into some of the specific things that were discussed and questions that were asked from the media. Yesterday, I was riding high on the news of AK being let go. Like, yes, finally, it happened. I can't believe they actually did it. We're finally going to start seeing some real changes with new guys in charge. And then I watched Michael Reinsdorf speak. And I'm right back to where I was. Coming out of that press conference didn't make me feel any more confident in the future of this team as long as Michael is ultimately in charge. Because you have to remember, this is effectively Michael's team now. Jerry is 90 years old. He's more or less handed off the reins to his son, Michael. And this is Michael's source of revenue as a Nepo baby. So one, he's not going to be selling the team anytime soon, which we knew that already, but still. Also, Michael, in my view, again, just my opinion as an outsider looking in and only going based off of what I see in terms of the team's success and what he's said to the media, he just doesn't strike me as a highly intelligent basketball guy. Now, that's fine if you're just an owner and you're more hands-off in your approach and you give your front office autonomy to do what they want, which Jerry and Michael have claimed to be the case. But based on what he said in today's press conference, he's going to be more involved in the decision-making process because of how bad things got under AK. And if Michael is going to be pulling the strings, oh boy, we're likely in for more of the same ride regardless of who they hire. Now, hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully they'll take this thing seriously. They're going to bring in someone smart, someone competent, and actually let them do what they want. But based off of the comments from earlier today, we can't say with a certainty that that's going to be the case. Now, I'll touch on some of the key highlights or things that stood out to me anyway. Tried to write them down as many as I could, but I'm sure there will be some that I miss. But Michael opened up the presser with prepared remarks, reading from a script, and I should add, didn't do very well, was stumbling on the script and made it hard to follow, which whatever, that's kind of a non-issue. Just, kind of hope that your owner of your favorite team, owner of a big franchise, is a little more prepared for something like this. But anyway, he talked about how he's doing this for the fans, how he understands the fans' frustration and that they deserve better than this. Also thanked AK and Mark for their time with the team, but given the lack of success, it was time for a change. I'm paraphrasing, of course. These weren't actual quotes, but it was more or less the written press release that they put out yesterday when the announcement came out that they were letting AK go. Now, of course, Michael was asked a number of questions, and I'll start with some of the questions and his responses surrounding Billy Donovan and his future. And Michael made it very clear they want to keep Billy around if he wants to be here, stating, quote, "I want to be very clear. We want Billy to continue to be the coach of the Chicago Bulls." He even went as far as to say, when asked about the hiring process for the new GM and whether they would have the ability to pick their own coach, he said, "If we're interviewing someone and they're not sold on Billy, who is a Hall of Fame coach and a person who has won championships in college, gone deep into the playoffs in OKC, if someone's not interested in Billy being our coach and Billy wants to be our coach, then maybe they're not our guy." Man, so many concerning things about this statement. Pretty much the opposite of what you want to hear. First and foremost, and I'll get to Billy specifically in a second, but any potential candidate who's listening to this, any candidate who was maybe considering the job, hell, maybe even those that aren't considering the job, but you want them as the part of the job, they're going to hear this and say, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. Because even if they like Billy Donovan, even if they respect him, even if they were in fact okay with Billy remaining the coach, to any potential candidate, that's a red flag right there. You're not going to give me the authority to pick my own coach. I have to come in and you're going to tell me who the coach is going to be of this team? Nah, next, I'm gonna pass. So that's the first issue I have with this, but let's put that aside for a moment. This is Billy Donovan we're talking about here. Billy Donovan. This isn't Phil Jackson or Greg Popovich or Eric Spoelstra or Lenny Wilkens, like all-time great coaches in the NBA. This is Billy Donovan we're talking about. Yes, I know he's well liked by players. I know he's well respected around the league. And yes, I can acknowledge that Billy has done a decent job with the rosters he's been given for the Bulls. But Billy Donovan is not the type of coach you say, it's either him or you're out. We don't want you. Let's say for a moment you get Sam Presti. He actually wants the job. Let's say you make him an offer you can't refuse, but he wants his own coach and doesn't want Billy Donovan. Are you really going to say, sorry, we don't want you now? Bro, where was this loyalty and devotion when they actually had Phil Jackson coming off 6 championships? And sorry, but I'm really getting tired of the whole Hall of Fame reference. I know I've mentioned this before, but every time I hear, well, Billy Donovan is a Hall of Famer, how could anyone go against him? He's largely in the Hall of Fame because of his college coaching career. No one is questioning what a great coach he was at the collegiate level. The NBA is a whole different ballgame. Just because you're a great college coach does not mean you're going to be a great coach in the NBA. We've literally witnessed this over the years where elite level college coaches come to the NBA, they bomb, and then go back to college. I'm sorry, but Billy Donovan's tenure in the NBA has been okay, just okay. Miss me with the whole OKC deep playoff runs. He had one deep playoff run with 2 superstars in Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and blew a 3-1 lead in the conference finals. After that, multiple first-round exits despite having stars like Russ and Paul George. Like, I feel like I'm going crazy here. What is the obsession with Billy Donovan? And this is coming from someone who has always been kind of in the middle on Billy, despite a lot of fans hating the guy. But am I missing something? Is this some kind of weird groupthink exercise where if enough people say he's great, people just start believing that he actually is because it's the group consensus? I don't get it, man. I really don't. Now, of course, it was more than just that. There were more eyebrow-raising comments. I mean, one, he was asked about tanking. He brought up that if Josh Giddey doesn't hit that half-court shot against the Lakers, the Bulls would get Cooper Flagg, which is factually untrue. It's literally an incorrect statement, but I won't go into that here. I've explained that before, but still embarrassing that an NBA owner does not know this. Michael was asked about the hiring process and how they would be conducting their searches. And what was concerning to me was not the approach they're taking, because he said they were going to be hiring a search firm. It's going to be a lengthy and thorough process. You want to hear that. But then he brought up how they went about hiring AK. And he more or less was like, yeah, we didn't really do our due diligence. Citing, it was COVID, so they didn't even meet AK in person until after they hired him. Like, I get it, it was COVID, but for a role like that, a position like that, you figure out a way to meet your next head of basketball operations in person before you actually extend them an offer. Have them quarantine, whatever you have to do. You think Fortune 500 companies were hiring their lead executives without actually meeting them in person, even during that time? No, absolutely not. But then he also mentioned, like, we didn't really talk to that many people. We didn't take a broad approach to the hiring process. What? I mean, again, just more examples of why this ownership doesn't take this thing seriously. So while I hope they do in fact take this seriously this time, which they claim they will be, I'm going to wait until I see it. Now, don't get me wrong, he did say some of the right things when asked about who he's going to be looking for in the next GM. He gave out a list of traits and factors they're going to be looking for: someone who's process-oriented, has conviction, effective communicator. He noted that the Bulls don't have the best track record when it came to communication, not only internally but externally to the public. Yeah, you think? AK was one of the worst communicators there was, rarely showed his face, and when he did, he was just so monotone without any sense of emotion. He also said he's looking for someone that is able to analyze trends, has good talent assessment, can collaborate well. I mean, these are all basic things that you'd want in a GM of an NBA basketball team. And he did say he needs to do a better job of challenging his next hire, asking the right questions, being more on hands because he's learned from past experiences, meaning AK. Oh, and also one quote where I was just kind of scratching my head is when Michael said, "We want to win, but we don't want to win if it's not sustainable." This was when he was referencing the Bulls going after Vucevic, then DeMar and Caruso, older-ish guys that could allow you to compete now, but maybe not over a long period of time. But that statement basically implies he wants to win and be competitive, so we don't want to tank, but yet we don't want to try and be competitive if it means we're only able to compete for a couple years at a time. I don't know, that was just some weird mental gymnastics to try and justify, yeah, we want to take a slow approach, but then we also kind of don't want to take a slow approach because we want to win. Oh, and another thing that bothered me. Our guy Will Gottlieb asked, a question about contract extensions that they gave AK and Mark Eversley last year, and what changed between now and then that made you want to make this change in direction. And Michael said, well, where are you getting your sources? And then went on to say it just simply was not true. They had never actually offered extensions to AK or Mark Eversley. Unless you heard it from Shams, it's not true. And we always keep those matters private. Like, the man really, is he gaslighting us right now? When it was widely reported that they offered these guys secret contract extensions along with Billy Donovan, I might add. You're really going to tell us that it's not true? As if these people in the media don't talk around the league? People aren't connected who can figure these things out? So anyway, I'm sure there were, some other points that I'm blanking on right now that were discussed in that presser. But to me, I just don't have a lot of faith right now that much is going to change. A lot of things he said just rubbed me the wrong way. Didn't seem to speak with conviction, like he knows how to turn things around. Of course, I hope I'm wrong, and I'll gladly come on here and say that I'm wrong. Michael proved me wrong. He was serious. He knows what he's doing. But at this point, I don't have a lot of confidence in the fact that that'll actually happen. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought of Michael's comments at this press conference. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.